Okay, for whoever's listening, if there is anyone listening, and I'll probably put this up. I'm going to be up for a couple of minutes. Um, I'm putting this up because I have been doing some thinking, and I'm going to try to see if I can lay out my thought process here. Um, we did a pretty good show, I think. Last time, Bishop Enoch and I were on, and I think that's it's positive. I think in dealing with the history of the thing, but it got me thinking. Reading comments on Twitter and things like that, that there's a real problem in the concept of apologetics on YouTube. And I think that's why I've titled it this what it is, because I just want to see if I can go through a little bit of a timeline of what we did, what's been done, and how things have progressed. And that it disturbs me a little bit. And what I mean by that is that when we started this 2 years ago, it was kind of going to be an extension of what we did on Facebook, like with the War Room and the War Zone. Basically, the idea was to bring the concepts and ideas behind the patristic method, which is the consensus patrum, using the fathers as our primary sources for teaching and defense of the faith. This isn't just because everything that has been done in apologetics with the fathers hasn't already been answered. That's a good reason, and it's a major reason. It's basically to central to the patristic method as laid out by Saint Vincent of Lerins. But more importantly, it's the way Orthodox have always done things. It's the historic method that we have used. Um, and so I'm not going to address comments. If someone has a real question, Sean, no offense, one thing I want to make clear is I'm going to lay everything out, because what I've discovered over the past 2 years is that there's something larger at work when we're doing this on YouTube, and it spreads itself out. It extends out to other forms of social media. I deal with a lot of stuff on Twitter and other places, but one thing that we have learned, at least I've learned in the past 2 years from interacting with YouTube, is that there is an industry behind this. And that's part of why I call this how the sausage is made, because I do want to address some of the things that have occurred over the past 2 years, but I also want to address that there are underlying currents. And what I mean by that is that my experience, or well, here's what I'll just put it like this: this is what I thought was going to happen when we, created this channel. I thought what was going to happen was that we would challenge various types of heterodox, whether it be Roman Catholics or Protestants or Jehovah's Witnesses, even we dealt with a Hebrew Israelite once, or in the early days, and we would argue with them, and you use the methods that the fathers lay out, and voila, that's what I thought this was going to be. What I discovered, however, and this has unfortunately colored many of the episodes that that we've dealt with and talked about, is that there is an industry. There is an apologetics industry. And what I mean by that is that it becomes less about the truth and more about your follower counts. Now, this isn't true of everyone. There are people like Johnny KZJ. I don't agree with him. I think he uses too many modern elders. But the point is, his heart is in the right place. He wants to talk about the truth, and he wants to argue the truth, and that's exactly what people are supposed to do. But then I contrast it to stuff like Jay Dyer, his servant, the Real Mad White, and Reason and Theology. places like that, where I start to realize, as time has gone on, I've been on Reason and Theology a total of twice. I probably will never be allowed back on. But what I did realize is that there is an entertainer and an audience, and the point is, it's about making a show for the sake of making a show. And what I mean by that is I use the term show very specifically here, because technically, isn't this a show? Well, yes, of course, this is a live broadcast on YouTube. It's got 5 people watching. But the point is that in reality, I didn't see it as a production. I simply saw it as, and I think that to the end that Bishop Enoch saw it, we both, I think saw it as just putting on a headset and turning on YouTube and just speaking the truth. It seemed simple enough. I did not realize that there were forces at work that see this in a different way, that they see it in a manner of monetization. And the truth becomes secondary. What matters first is what you can make off it. And that, I think, is why a bunch of people hate us. And hold on a second. I'm going to decline that right now. In any case, I think part of the reason that people are motivated to, go off on me, my synod, Bishop Enoch, our channel, is because the people in charge of this industry, and I don't mean like, the guys running YouTube, I don't know who they are, I don't really care, but I mean in terms of the apologetics industry, they have to have avatars, heroes, they have to, and then there are villains. And the point is, it's manufactured. It's a show. It's entertainment. That's not what I do. That's not what Bishop Enoch does, and I don't think anyone who claims to be an apologist should even consider doing. It's one thing to monetize your work. It's another thing to make the monetization more important than the truth. And I think that this is something that is lost on a lot of people, because the people who do have thousands of followers, and we have like 600 people who listen to us, and I'm guessing at least 200 of them like us. The point is that people who have lots and lots of followers, like, this is something I learned very early on when we started. I learned about this thing called super chats, where basically, like, you couldn't use super chats or monetize your content unless you had 1,000 followers. So in that sense, it motivates people to just want to make more followers. It's not about the truth anymore after that. It's just about making followers. And so the point is, even though we didn't come in with the expectation of making lots of followers, and sure, we've asked for money because, frankly, we're always broke, but what we didn't realize is that people who do have thousands of followers, or people who want to have thousands of followers, would see us as a problem. And the reason they would see us as a problem is because we're not acting in a mercenary fashion. And so the point is, salvation and the truth is a gift. It's a gift given by Christ, by God. We don't control it, and we certainly can't charge for it. That's actually considered a sin. Simony and all that fun stuff. But the point is that that our purpose on YouTube was simply to just use patristic argumentation, and this has been lost. The number of buzzwords I have heard in the past couple of years, the big one that I've heard, absolute divine simplicity. Well, that's some crap from Thomas Aquinas. Why do I care about absolute divine simplicity? It doesn't make sense to me. Of course God is simple. Okay, congrats. The point is, when you start using these philosophical terms that you don't really find in the Fathers in any real depth, and you have to have Thomistic garbage arguments with people, you're not engaging what the Fathers are saying. And, people can say, well, St. Gregory Palamas used St. Thomas Aquinas. He also noted its limitations. The same goes for Gennadius Scholarius. So the point is that the patristic method of argumentation does not rely on worldly argument. It relies on the use of the Fathers, which means actually reading the Fathers. It doesn't mean holding up a book and saying I've read something, and it doesn't mean bringing on some guy who claims to be an expert on something. The way you do it is to read the fathers. It's not that hard. And people who say that they do, if you actually read the fathers and you actually heard their arguments, you'd sound more like them. And this is part of the reason why the industry, and I'm going to keep calling it that because whether you put Jay Dyer's face on it or Michael Lofton's, it doesn't really matter because it's all about the gaining of followers, are going to find a problem with us. And I'm gonna lay out some stuff here while I'm at it because I deal with people on Twitter a great deal, and so I found that when I started, like hiding my account to see what people were saying about True Orthodoxy, so on and so forth, I found that my name came up a few times, and Bishop Enoch's name came up a few times, and I explained to someone yesterday, who of course was anonymous, that we're not True Orthodoxy's customer service desk. We do apologetics, and this was never supposed to be about jurisdictions. It's part of the reason why I respect and I like people like Craig Trillia, who is using the patristic method successfully, and also got booted off of Reason and Theology for the same reason. But of course, since I'm being honest and I'm trying to lay out everything here. When I talk to somebody who does work there, basically it was just seen as a mechanical thing. It was like, okay, well, yep, Craig's gone, but that's okay. We found Father Patrick, so he'll be the Orthodox replacement. It's like these are roles, actors in a show. That's not what I signed on for. That's not what I created this channel for. It's not what Bishop Enoch is here for. We're not here to entertain people. We're here to say the truth. And what's important is we don't just want to say the truth. We want you to use our methods so you don't need us, so you can say the truth. We have no interest whatsoever. We've been doing this for 2 years. And, the more I think about it, the less I want to reach 1,000 followers. Because, at first we were like, yeah, that's great. It'll help with monetization. But there are people who live for it. This is literally what they do. And Orthodoxy is secondary. It's a secondary thing. I dealt with someone asking me, of course, an anonymous person, about Gregory of Colorado. I've covered that a dozen times. And all of a sudden he pulls out this thing from what's-his-face, Ephemios, the guy who attacks me personally, and says, well, what's wrong with Gregory of Colorado? Not that I'm referencing this particular mental illness guy. I don't think that he's mentally ill. I just think he's got problems. But what's more important is we would never recommend Gregory of Colorado because he's really just not a good person. And I can name a dozen ways that that's true, but what the biggest thing is, frankly, I don't know that he cares about people's souls. And that's a problem. But when you start saying, well, is that true Orthodoxy? No, it's not. You have to have rules and organization. There's canons. There's a book of canons, and anyone who calls themselves an apologist should know what the rudder is. At least have it in your bookshelf. Reference it. But this is where, you don't have to have it in a bookshelf. It's a digital format, too. You just have to find it. It's really not that hard. It's free. All this stuff is free, or it should be free. And what amazes me is how little interest there is in keeping it free. So then I dealt with, people saying, well, like a dozen people left, and these are all Dyer people, and they're like, a dozen people left and joined their sect, my sect, and they and then they apostatized. First off, no dozen people has ever come to our synod. No one person has ever actually joined our synod over this show, to my knowledge. And more importantly, why lie? If I've already denied it, Bishop Enoch's already denied it. He's one of our 5 bishops. So, it's not like you can get much higher in terms of either we're lying or we're not. And I'm telling you right off, it wasn't us. There's a lot of true Orthodox jurisdictions out there. I don't take responsibility for them. I don't work for them. And so the point is that all of this is it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous because it didn't occur to me, and this is why I'm now sharing this with you, that we were at war unintentionally with an industry. We can call it Apologetics Inc. We can put that in quotes. Because what we were dealing with, whether we realized it or not, were not people who were interested in the truth. They were interested in the following. And so because they were interested in the following, it didn't matter what the truth was. And so this is why, you have this, you have these two extremes in the industry, which are easily represented by, J. Dyer and Reason and Theology. The one, the absolutist, the showman, who changes religions 5 or 6 times. And then on the other side, you have the, the mealy-mouthed people who don't want to say anyone's right because they just want a maximum number of people to follow them. But both of them, whether you go the cult route or the ecumenist route, aren't telling the truth because they're not interested in it. We've laid out the history, and this is where I'm talking about like Thomistic crap. We laid out the history of how the Roman Catholic Church was founded by a guy, and the point is, we know who the guy is. We've pulled out documents now. I haven't put the little sources in there, but you can get them out of the chat. But the point is, a minimum of work will get you the sources. We've got to just make it even simpler, apparently. And people are still like, yeah, but what about Thomas? Or what about this argument about, the keys and the major domo? Dude, you're talking about a fake founded religion. And you're telling me maybe they might, that's like saying, maybe the Mormons have a good argument. No, they don't. Okay, so I was not going to comment on anything. Suffering Orthodoxy would love to see a debate with Dyer. He would get demolished. Here's some fun truth. Approximately 8 months ago, or 9 months ago, someone invited me to a server that J. Dyer was on. And guess what happened? I was on for approximately 30 seconds. And I said, hello. That's as far as I got. And after they said that, I saw someone saying, oh, this is going to be good. And then suddenly J. Dyer's like, no, he was mean to me. And then they booted me off the server. So if you hear anything about these guys going, oh, yes, we could totally defeat them with our arguments, or if it's Med White, oh, yes, we can totally defeat them with our arguments. The point is, they're not really arguing. It's all part of the show, guys. It's part of the industry. It's part of the show. We are going to demonstrate this guy. And then there was a time I was on Reason and Theology. That was all a show, too. Because once we were talking about actual facts, which is what we did during the Fatima debate, which is why I'm not going to be on Reason and Theology anymore, everything starts to crumble because they're not interested in facts. Dyer's not interested in facts. Lofton's not interested in facts. They're interested in you. They're interested in making money off your presence. And the point is, we're not. We just try to teach what the fathers teach. So I'm trying to keep calm. And as much as I hate to say this, there's blame to go all around. And, but in the end, what I realized is that there is Apologetics and there is Apologetics Inc. And the point is, we're not part of Apologetics Inc. We're not going to be part of Apologetics Inc. The fathers were never part of Apologetics Inc. The church never ran this way. So the point is, it's very simple. And I'm going to start the same way we started when we started this show. Read the Holy Fathers, use them in actual argument, and you don't need us. We don't need to be here. We're happy to answer questions, but the point is, that's not what we're here for. And also, this whole convert thing, I'm not here. We didn't come in to convert anyone. We came in to do defenses of the faith. We assume the listener is an Orthodox Christian. And now I'm hearing people who are not even baptized. Oh, well, they joined and look what happened to them. They didn't join anything. To join the Orthodox Church, you have to be either chrismated, baptized, something. You can't just say, I'm #Orthodox. No, you're not. You're just a guy. And this is a big problem because if you're just a guy claiming to be #Orthodox and you have not actually gone to a #church and talked to a #priest and gotten #catechized and or illumined, then you are not Orthodox. You're just a guy talking on a social network. And that does not give you any right to say anything really to an Orthodox except bring your arguments against Orthodoxy. Because if you want to be Orthodox, you should just do it. And this involves This involves, and there's, hi Xavier, I'm glad that you're here because you're actually one of the two examples, buddy. You're one of the two examples of people who have joined our church and fallen away. But I learned yesterday, you didn't actually join our church, did you? No, you didn't. I respect your decision, fine, but you didn't join us. But there are people saying that you joined us and you fell away. Think about that. The same thing with Fide. He doesn't, I hate to say this, but he's not even sure about iconography. But then again, neither is Eric Ibarra. Eric Ibarra is not sure about iconography. It's the Seventh Ecumenical Council. It's literally translated in English with hateful Protestant footnotes. Guys, it's free on Google. The entire church's argument, laid out from the beginning, is laid out there. And that's the point of the patristic method. You go to what the Father said. And all you have to do to understand iconography is go to the Seventh Ecumenical Council. It goes from the 1st century all the way to the 8th. But the point is, well, thank you. And I appreciate your honesty, Xavier. You were close, but you never did. And remembering the circumstances at the time, I understand. But the point is, that's my point. Xavier, you're the product, is my point. All of you listening are the product. If something is free, you're the product. And the whole point I'm trying to get to is that there is a real industry here, and their focus is on making you guys listen. And that's the whole point. And so Suffering Orthodoxy Trust the Fathers, Not YouTube Personalities, thank you very much. I think I'm just going to put that on the screen because that is literally should be the whole point. And I may not have much more to say, to be quite frank, but there is no debate. There's no argument. These things are set up well in advance, and they're pre-planned. And the point is, they're supposed to go a certain way. And if you go the reason and theology route, the whole point of the show is that there's no real answer. And if you go the Jay Dyer route, the whole point is only Jay Dyer has the answer. Neither of these are the truth. And so that's all I have to say on the matter. And anyway, I just wanted to lay out how the sausage is made. This is not what we do, and it's not what we're ever going to do, but people have made false claims, and it's kind of sad. And but they're doing. I want to explain why they're doing it. And why they're doing it is, it occurred to me as I was talking. They're doing it because it's part of the entertainment. They're not apologists. They're in the entertainment business, and we're not that entertaining. So that's really all I have to say. And anyway, have a good thing. Yeah, I agree a lot. All of us need prayers. But the point is, just focus on the truth. I suggest to everyone who's heard the term consensus patrum, read the entire commonitorium. It's 20 pages, 25 pages, and it will explain the patristic method better than any idiot on YouTube. Maybe I should have just read that. Maybe someone else has done that. I hope someone else has done that, has just read the commonitorium on YouTube. I think 100 people doing that would be 10 times better than what we have now with Apologetics Inc. I don't think that that's how it should be. We should be reading the fathers and learning how to use what they taught, because they didn't just say them to be on air. They didn't just write them so they'd be like, I'm a published author. They wrote them because they were defending the faith. Christ is risen, truly is risen. And that's all I got to say, guys. Monitorium. And follow the fathers. Have a great day, guys. Christ is risen.